Now that you have a basic understanding of formulas, I want to show you one more complex example of assembly, and in this assembly I'm going to use some formulas. So I want to go to XY plane. I'm in part design environment. So here I want to draw a simple rectangle using the rectangle tool, and the dimensions are not that important. I want to make sure that this is centered, so I type in 150 by 150 and add some symmetries or equidistance if you wish. This is not that much important. I want to have this like this and add symmetry here. Exit my workbench and add about 50 millimeters of padding here. Now that I have added this, I can go and select this face, draw a circle here. The circle can be, for example, about 50 millimeters in diameter or 60 millimeters in diameter. Doesn't matter, or even more. I can make it 100. So I have 50 millimeters of radius. Exiting my workbench, I select pocket tool and go to the depth of about 30 millimeter. Okay, now I have a hole here that has a 30 millimeters depth, and let's go to the next part. I want to start by drawing another part. So I save this as in a folder, assembly with formula, and inside this part is part 1. Okay, save it as part 1. Now I close this and create a new part, and this time this name is part 2. And again here I want to select XY plane and draw the same shape and add 150 here, 150 here, and very fast I select these 2, 3 to add a symmetry like this, and have about 50 millimeters of padding again. This time I want to select bottom side of this and create a hole, and this should be as much as 100 millimeters and exit in. Now I can add pocket, and this time again I want to have about 30 millimeters of pocket here. So I click here, and this is my part 2. So I save it as part 2, and let's close this. This time I want to add another part. This is part 3, or I can name it helix because I want to create a helix shape here. And for helix I have a tool here, and if I take my shape into mechanical design, wireframe, and surface design environment, you can go to insert menu, and under wireframe you can find the helix here. So this helix will have a starting point. I can create a point here. We'll have an axis, and the axis can be one of the, for example, the z-axis. That's okay. And it can have a pitch. I can select the pitch, or I can select the height and number of revolutions. They can be both of these, and you can select to have it counterclockwise or clockwise. And of course you can have a starting angle. That's not important here in my case. And let's create a point first. By right clicking here I can create a point. For creating a point, I prefer to go to, for example, YZ plane and go to sketch environment and create a point here. And I want to make sure that this is in coincidence with the horizontal vector. I can, of course, add a constraint of 0 distance. and I want to be about 28 millimeters from the center. And why 28? Because I want to add 2 millimeters of thickness for the helix, and this will make about 30 millimeters, and I want to put that helix in, that is going to be an S string, of course. I want to put that spring inside the holes. So I click on OK and make sure that this is 28 millimeters away from this vertical axis, and I exit my workbench. Now I can go to insert menu and start wireframe, helix, and this is the starting point that just selected. Now I select z-axis as the axis. Now you can see that the pitch is too small. I want to have about 5 millimeters of pitch here, and the height can be about 100 millimeters. Now you can see that the number of revolutions are going to be calculated. I can guess that there are 20 revolutions of this helix. Okay, now I can have a starting angle. I don't want to, because I want it to be aligned to YZ plane. So I click on OK. Now this is created for me. Now the next feature I want to add is to add a rib, and for this I can go to, let's go to part design environment. I guess there I can find the necessary tools. So I go to mechanical design, part design environment, and go to insert sketch base feature, and rib is here. And what kind of rib I want to add? I want to draw a profile here that's gonna be a circle. So I go to profile environment and select YZ plane. And now by selecting YZ plane, I want to zoom in and draw a circle that is in coincidence with this point. So I draw the circle somewhere, and the circle should be about 2 millimeters in radius. So I make sure that the diameter is 4 or radius is 2. You can change it to radius as you wish, and click on OK. And now select the center of this and this point and add a coincidence. Now by adding the coincidence, I have this fully defined. I exit my workbench, and now I can have the center curve. The curve is this helix. I select the helix, and after a while the rib is calculated, and I click on OK. You can see the helix is created for me, and that's just fine. Let's zoom out and see this helix right near. Now this is my part 3. I save it. So I save it as helix. And now the next thing is to assemble these things together.